Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton. Along with me, as always, is the Battle Bunker Blondie, Bethany McChesney, despite the fact she isn't doing Battle Bunker, but we'll go through that later.
An
And this
attempted
episode,
battle bunker.
what's that? Hold up. So we're going to go right into that. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by Duonamic, and I got a new Duonamic toy.
Mhm.
They sent it to me. These are the new power holes. So you hang
Okay.
them from your door thingy, and so it's like a regular oval, but this is the cool part. So you can angle it with the strings, which is great because you can for more positivity or less positivity. But this is the cool part. You got the that part to put your hand in, right? So like a
hmm
little grip like that, and you've got these little clips that magnetically go inside. That was loud. And then it takes it away the space inside. So then you're just finger tipping.
Oh, cool. So it's kind of like the hangboard idea.
Yeah, it's like a little portable hangboard. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
got great feel, strong as hell. So and a snazzy carrying case. So actually, no, I think it's good. I think I like it as a product. I've tried a little bit. I also used it to I strapped some weight to it and used it for finger curls.
hmm
So I just had the tips of my fingers in the end there and just do finger curls with it. That worked really well. So very versatile too. I'm gonna make some videos for different stuff you can do with it. I like it. Very good.
Nice.
So thank you, Duonamic, and please support them. They support us. They support everybody in the industry. They're a really good Canadian company. I like that. Okay, so Battle Bunker. Yeah. Start
Mhm.
off. Anyone who doesn't know, Battle Bunker is put on by Austin. Oh God, I don't remember his last name, but he does the whole battle bus thing. He goes to like gyms and he'll have like a pull up bar and he'll give people money for as many pull ups as they can do, or bench
Mhm.
press, as many bench press, whatever the squats, all sorts of little gym challenges, and he gives money, just gives it away for content on the internet. And then he had the Battle Bunker last year where they had the three different competitions in one day, finishing with that really cool obstacle course, kind of military style obstacle course. A lot of big names went out to it, and it was it has its pros and cons, but all in all was kind of cool. So this year they did a virtual. They call it a pipeline to kind of work their way up to that final event. So as a way to qualify, and it was free,
Mhm.
and I didn't do it.
Well, I attempted it. Um, it was so there was three events, 1500 meters, which sorry, 1600 meters, which had to be done on a track, which is good. And then three rep max for strict press and back squat. So three rep max. And then a workout that was 30, 20, 10 of thrusters and burpee over dumbbells. Um, the thruster weight was just pretty heavy. I didn't think I could pull off 60 of them without hurting my shoulder more than I'm kind of dealing with right now. So I did the 1600. I actually did so there's Battle Bunker and the combine right now also. And so I did the 1600 and the 5000 meter like one right after the other for a good workout day and but these virtual things can sometimes be frustrating because you think like you read the rules
There were
and then
rules.
there were rules. There were not that many,
Oh,
and it said you just had to submit your Strava. So I didn't videotape it, and then they asked for a video, so I didn't have a video, but I did video the 5000. So like I could have. I mean, I had my 10-year-old son running around the soccer field and I felt bad that he would have to do it twice. So, yeah, I didn't video the 1600. So then I did the other, the three rep max things just for fun. Although, I mean, I never do that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And yeah, so I just didn't end up submitting at all. So that
So,
was it for me.
and this is the part I didn't know. So you submitted the 1600 meter, and they asked for a Strava.
So in the rule book, it said to just submit your Strava results, but then when you went to actually submit it, it asked for you to upload your video. So I didn't have a video for that, unless I'm mixing this up, because I did videotape the 5000 for the other one.
Because what I saw and what I've heard from some people was that you just had to submit the video. You didn't have to submit your Strava. And this was one of the problems I had with it was I was seeing videos and it was just people crossing the line 4 times. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's terrible. Like, I mean, the whole point of the track thing, having them run it on the track is a great idea. That's fantastic
Mhm.
because we all know Strava, GPS, all that, it's all gets screwy. It's not consistent. So when you run them on the track and make them run, 4 laps, boom, 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 that's perfect. That's great. But the
Yeah.
videos, people weren't staying in the video the whole time, which means, and pardon me for my lack of faith in humanity, cheating would be really freaking easy.
Yeah.
And
So in the rule book for the combine, sorry, I'm mixing up the names of these.
okay,
There's
so
Battle
this is the
Bunker
pipeline and grit game.
this was the and then the Grit Games one. So the Grit Games one did say for the 5,000 you had to remain in the frame. And that's a fairly long time also. So that means like you have to have someone. And
Yeah.
again, I bribed my 10-year-old son to follow us around the track with
Hmm.
and they were fine. They said our video was fine. I mean, there were sections where like, it was bouncy and stuff, but we were in it for the most part. But yeah, the Battle Bunker one is, but then the Grit Games you also had to submit your Strava. Even
Yes.
just a screenshot of it so that you
Yep.
see your map so that you can see that you stayed on
Yes.
yeah, that you stayed on the course. And then with Grit, you had to submit the video and your Strava. So, but with the Battle Bunker, and I'm just seeing if
Was
I can actually if the rules are still up, but it didn't say anything about a video.
now from what I saw and from what everybody's done, and I talked to some of the athletes, they just did just the video, no Strava, and it was just like and the ones I saw. I mean, I call them. I saw Meg's, and it was just her crossing the line 4 times. Now I have no doubt that Meg did it right because I know Meg and I know Meg's a class act, and that's why I have no problem using her name. But
Hmm.
I know there's a lot of people out there who are not do not have as good as scruples or morals as her. And, for example, all I would have to do is run past the start line and then just take a chuck around the camera until I'm out of shot. Wait, whatever,
Yeah.
120, run by again. Like it they should know better, having, especially Hunter, having done OCR stars twice.
Hmm.
That's you gotta be like I looked at the rules and the rules are like 2.5 pages, if that, and I'm like, man, that's not enough. That is
Yeah.
not.
So it
If you
doesn't
want
say
to,
anything about the video for this
no,
one.
but if you look on the video, there's a video of how to submit the video, but it doesn't
Oh,
say
I
anything.
see.
And again,
Okay.
that should be
I
written
just
in
read
the rules.
the actual rule book was to me, that's I just referenced that and there
Yeah,
was nothing about a video.
but there you go. Like again, they should all be the same. They should all line up. The rule book should have everything in it, and then the videos should be a helpful thing down the side. So that part bothered me. Another thing, uh, like you say, the workouts, those are heavyweights for a lot of people, and that's fine. If that's the core people you want to grab, that's cool. That's great. That's a manner of option. But the minute I saw thrusters, I'm like, that's a judging nightmare.
Hmm.
Between going to depth, between locking out the arms, it's hard enough to judge thrusters in person at multiple angles,
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
less to do it on a video. When I see some of the videos were not great angles, they were not good. And I'm like, come on, this is something they wanted to be big and serious, and they're giving away money. They need to
Yeah.
be more stringent with the rules and proper. And I did see a lot of videos and people not going to depth on squats, and I know they went through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw videos thrusters, people not locking out, and I know they went through too. And it's I don't know. I'm a virtual competition nut. I love them, but I like
Hmm.
them done right. And to this point, I have not seen Hunter's stuff done right between both
Hmm.
OCR games and now what I saw in this. I am, however, disappointed and sympathetic because they did not get the turnout they wanted,
Hmm.
and I'm disappointed for that. I would have still liked to have seen them get a good turnout. I would have liked to see them have a really good event, and that's not happening. Did you see the part where they talked about extending it a week?
Oh, I didn't. No.
Yeah, yeah. I guess Austin put up a post, and I don't know. They said it was because some people hadn't heard of it, some people didn't have time to get the workouts in, blah blah blah, whatever. But I think in reality, it was because the turnout was so much less than they expected that they were hoping another week would bring some more people in. That
Yeah.
said, that's a terrible idea and is completely unfair to the people who did do it on time and who did take it seriously and jumped in. And I'm glad they ended up not extending it.
Hmm.
They went with better judgment. And I mean, good for Austin. Like he asked the competitors essentially what they thought. I don't
Yeah.
think he ever should have asked, but the fact that he asked before he went and just did it, I mean, shows that at least he himself is willing to take input and
Hmm.
and learn. So good for them. But I mean, you're looking at like they did have to cancel the inner. They were so the deal was 21 men and women. So 21 men, 21 women would go to each regional semifinals. And there were to be three of them, one on the west coast of the states, one on the east coast, I think in North Carolina, and then one over in England. And they had to cancel the one in England because they only had like four international women
Oh, wow.
do it, and the men weren't much more. So they canceled those and are giving those people invites to the ones in the states. That
Hmm.
kind of caught me by surprise a little bit because I mean Hunter's pretty popular over in the UK now with all, especially with High Rocks and whatnot,
Hmm.
and I thought that might be a bigger draw, but I guess not.
I mean, there's just so many things going on right now too. Like we had the Grit Games virtual, and then we have so many live races now. And I don't know, we might people got a little bit burnt out of the virtual stuff also during COVID.
Mhm.
So I don't know, maybe it wasn't the right approach for this. I'm not sure.
I honestly have heard so a couple of people I've heard a couple of theories. One is one that I know you'll back up is actually it being free was a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. As a business owner, I mean, we've talked about this too. I don't do anything for free. People just, they don't take it as seriously when something's free. And even like if I've given free memberships, people are less likely to show up if it's free. So I think with this one, people registered online because it was free. So whatever, you might as well. And then it was just kind of like, oh, well, or maybe they didn't like the workouts, but
And I think you're right. And I think though I think they did it for the right reason. I think they did it because we want to open this up to everybody. We want I think in their mind there was we want no barrier for entry, right? They want to make it as
yeah.
easy as possible for people to enter. And I will
Mhm.
say that the workouts they chose, although I think the weights were a little bit heavy, very minimalistic as to what you would need for
Mhm.
equipment. And I think that's a good idea. I liked that.
Well, and the other thing with these ones was you could realistically fit them into your training schedule right now without too much like stress into what you're doing.
Mhm.
So in those ways, and they're very short, like you could do all of them on the same day. So in that way, they weren't a bad decision.
Yeah.
Just kind of heavy for people that aren't, if yeah, very
Yeah.
much geared towards the high rocks athlete.
Well, and again, I was just kind of looking at it and I'm like, does it? Like, how many High Rocks athletes are doing three max strict press?
Well, that one doesn't. Yeah, and that's what actually I said to the people that I was doing it with was like in what we race, we're never doing anything for only like three times. You're doing 100 wall balls. Like it's a completely different energy system. So that
Yeah.
one's an odd one, but
And I knew,
I
and
think
I thought the squats and the strict press again would be a judging nightmare again because I've judged virtual competitions with squats
mm,
and it was a nightmare. And then a
yeah,
strict press too. I mean, what is strict? I think if I was going to go say, we're doing a strict press, I would have had them seated,
true.
you
Yeah.
know, and even then, I don't like strict anything as a judge. It's too difficult. That's why they don't do it as much in CrossFit. They do it sometimes, but they struggle when it comes in that stuff too. So I don't know that the workouts themselves I thought were decent, but the setup might not have been great. So
Hmm.
the other part, and then I hate to say it, but some people have been soured on Hunter's competitions the way he's held them,
Hmm.
um, due to communication, due to lack of transparency. I mean, people still don't seem to understand how the points are done in this, right? I think it's just a simple where
Oh.
you placed in each one, but I don't know. It's not really listed. So when
Hmm.
I talk to some of the competitors, they don't seem to know. And
Oh
and
boy.
again, that should be very obvious. That should be transparent, and it's not. And
Hmm.
I think that really sours people on stuff.
Hmm.
I know it does me. I don't like, and the other part too. I wouldn't. I liked, and this kind of made it. I don't know why I wasn't as interested, but if you made it to the semifinals, which almost everybody did,
Hmm.
um, you don't know what you're doing there. So you might have been doing a three. Like say I'm a CrossFitter, right? I'm a big, strong dude, and I smash that squat and strict press thing. Well, I could be going to the semifinals and doing a high rock sim with 8K running.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
so I don't know who the competition's for. And I think the people who competed didn't know who the competition's for. And that
Hmm.
maybe kept them away. So again, I think a little more transparency would help when I think sometimes these guys think secrecy is the way to go. Surprise. No, I think transparency. Why is High Rocks being successful? Why is DECA being successful? Because you know what's coming and you know how to train for it
It's
and you know how to get
predictable.
ready. It's predictable.
Hmm.
So, and if you're going with, oh, we want the non-predictable and not knowing, well, then how are you not CrossFit?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Because
the CrossFit mentality, was
you're
to be
just the
prepared
same
for
thing.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you like that, and that becomes the big question. How are you? What differentiates you from CrossFit? And that's kind of the thing I asked about people when they tell me they want to set up a hybrid race, and then and I with the race brain when they just set up theirs, and I tease them. I was like, this is just a CrossFit workout.
Hmm.
You made a lovely CrossFit workout. So you have to differentiate yourself from it. And I think the skill level is what does it. I think hybrid racing should have very little skill. They're not little skill, but way less skill and way
Yeah.
less technical movements, whereas CrossFit can be anything. So that's what they want.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I guess we'll see. They're down to the two semifinals, and hopefully I think they're going to stream them. Hopefully they're cool. Hopefully they're fun to watch.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if I feel bad that I didn't do it or not. I had no desire to do a three squat max. I had no desire to do a three press max. How did
No.
you
And
do?
even when I did it, it was like just a throwaway. I was like, oh, put a little bit on the bar so I don't look like a wimp.
How was your mile?
My mile?
Yeah.
Um, oh, it wasn't anything special. I did like a 6:30. I basically did the same pace as like only slightly faster than my 5,000 meter.
Nice.
So but again, I was kind of coming back from this foot thing and I haven't not had foot pain. Actually doing the mile and the 5,000 on the track was the first time I didn't have foot pain since my 30K. So I was like, if I go and smash a mile, I could just flare everything up. So
Yeah.
I wasn't giving it like my 110%. So yeah, I just wanted to pace it out kind of thing.
I think so. Tara, of Team Mofex update, Tara Jackson, she went through, she had like a 5:12 mile. So I think she might have had the
Yeah,
fastest mile for the women. So that's awesome
she
because
did.
I
Yeah.
don't think I think people underestimate, well, people constantly underestimate Tara, but I think they really underestimate how good of a runner she is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, great with her. Austin Azar, he's going through to the final, to the semifinals. And Dylan Scott, I'm not sure. I know Dylan did it, but he was jokingly, he said he had like a 195 three rep squat max and like
I saw that.
very
Yeah.
low numbers, but whether he got through or not, I don't know. I don't think
Hmm.
Dylan really would care as that much anyway. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, so that battle bunker, I don't know, good and bad, lots of stuff like that. Other things that happen here, two new DECA gyms in Canada. I don't know if we talked about the one much, but we've got one down in York at Resilient Fitness. It looks like it's in like an indoor soccer dome gym.
Yeah, it does. It looks really cool. It's huge.
It is huge, and that to me, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, oh, that could be a good mile setup where they could actually set up an oval,
All inside. Yeah.
nice and fast inside.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. So
Hmm.
looking forward to getting some of their events, and just announced in Vancouver at the Richmond Oval, which is like an Olympic training facility.
No way. That's awesome.
And you want to talk about a huge place. This place is massive. Like there's a hockey rink, there's an outdoor court, there's like it is there's and it's it says the oval track. So there's a track, I think, indoor. Like it's monstrous.
Wow.
It would be, I mean, you want to talk about a Canadian Deca fit in a glam, like a really cool location, that would be the place.
Hmm.
So it looks awesome. Check it out. Go on Deca and great for Yancey and them again expanding more. So like we got like 7, 8 gyms in Canada now. So I think a Deca fit in 2024 would make sense.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Other thing. about hybrid racing, High Rocks. So I listened to Matt had an interview with E-Rock, and apparently, this is not an etched in stone, but apparently High Rocks could be coming to Canada in 2024 to both Vancouver and Toronto.
Wow.
That was what E-Rock said on Matt's interview. So listen to ORM. I think it was 2 episodes ago with E-Rock, and take a look. Yeah, so he says Canada is looking promising for 2024. So that would be very exciting, especially Toronto for us. I have a
Yeah, that would
code.
be so exciting.
I have a code, and it would be nice to do one of these events and not have to get a hotel and not have to spend
Mhm.
500 bucks on a flight and all that stuff. So that's pretty
Mhm.
cool. Excited about that. Savage, did you catch any of the coverage of Savage?
I didn't see any of the coverage. No, it was Easter weekend here, so we were pretty
It
busy,
was.
but uh-huh.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good coverage. Again, they had Miranda and oh Lord, I'm forgetting her name right now. I'm stumbling on a lovely English voice, great commentary. She's really good. She does a great
Yeah.
job. It'll come to me after, and I
Hmm.
apologize for gapping on her voice right now. But what we had though, you did have another like top heavy then drop off fields. So you had for the man year finish, you had Sean Roberts taking first, leapfrogging over Ryan Kempson, who went to the other way the previous Savage race, and Leon Kofit coming over,
Hmm.
taking a third place. Good for him. And I think if you had told him when he's coming, you get third, he'd be very happy with that. He looked really solid on the obstacles. He's ran well. He's looking like he's back
Yeah.
in shape. And then a bit of a surprise, him beating out VJ and VJ coming fourth.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people might have been predicting VJ to push Kempson at this one, and it didn't quite work out that way. So VJ apparently is still not quite in tip-top shape, admittedly.
Hmm. But I mean, that's okay. It's still so early in the season too. Like this is the thing with OCR is we still expect our athletes to be in tip-top shape all year round. So, I mean, it's April. He's probably focusing on OCR So, I'm I think this is from what I know, this is probably his first race of the season. So
I think so.
he's kind of rust busting. So,
I think he might have done something else. Like he might have done a Spartan one earlier too, but it was again just yeah. He himself has come off a really rough year. He was very sick last year, had a lot of issues, and then
mhm,
yeah, so not at 100%, admittedly by himself, but I do think he'll come around. And once it comes time, I do believe he's also doing the Spartan 3K series. I
that
can't
makes
see
sense.
him. I can't see him not wanting to go over to Dubai to get a chance at that money.
Yeah.
That really seems like him. Um,
Hmm.
and then the women, same.
Yeah.
Chris,
Exact
yeah,
same podium.
exact same
Yeah.
podium. Chris again looked great. Alex looked good, and oh my God, I'm
Jamie.
a Jamie
Jamie. Horneopolis.
Hornopoulos.
Yeah.
Horneopolis. Is that how
Hmm.
that's said? That just sounds wrong.
Actually, there's another O in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Horneopolis. I'm not sure. Mhm.
But she's a great athlete. She's a
Yeah.
fantastic person. So
And we
yeah,
had
that's
Calypso Sheridan. I think this was her first Savage, and she was right there in fourth place. So that's really promising.
yeah, she's got some ability. She'll if she sticks around,
Hmm.
she'll be really good. Because I can't imagine. I did not get a chance to see her on too many of the obstacles, but I can't imagine she has the experience that some of the other girls have, especially
Yeah.
well, yeah, especially the top three, right? Like those girls
Yeah.
all have done a ton of savages and know what they're doing,
Hmm.
and are very good at obstacles. So the fact that she came in there and put in a great showing is awesome. She also is in the battle bunker. She's doing well there too.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm really hoping they get a few more higher end people in there. It's like it's getting some good people at the top, but it doesn't quite have that star power of like the Spartan National Series did in the past couple of years, where you would have really really big names and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it just need maybe like 3 or 4 more good names in the men and the women, so that it's a little more deep a field. But it'll come. I hope it'll come. They're putting on good races. Um,
Yeah.
they made the sling ring a little bit better. That's that tire one.
Yeah. What did they do?
So they extended the pole so the tire stayed on better.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I
that
did
said,
notice some coverage where less people struggled with this one.
yeah, that said, I'm still not sold. It's just, what? It's just a miss for me.
Hmm.
It is what it is. Sometimes you get great ones. At least they're trying, but that one's a miss. They did use the give and take, and I liked it.
Yeah, that one looked really
Yeah,
good.
it even looked like it kind of some of the guys like it stumped VJ for a minute. That's where when he got there, he was a little bit stumped on it, and that's where Leon closed and kind of I think passed him shortly after that, but made up a lot of ground on that obstacle. Leon's obstacle proficiency being like second to none.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looked good. I like that one. So another good Savage races, more to come in that series. What else do we have here? Okay, so I was talking about this, and we have talked about this a couple times. And because of the battle bunker thing, and because of Grit Games, the Grit Games one, you said you did. Have you done the whole thing yet, or just?
So they have two each week. So last week was the 5,000. Actually, it wasn't. It's 12 laps of the track, which is actually 4.8K.
Yeah.
Then it was the over the shoulders.
Yes. Did you find a ball?
Mhm. So I actually ended up doing open because
You
same
couldn't find a
deal. I'm
ball.
like, I could. So Jeff and so my other two training partners had to use the 80, and we filled up a sandbag and an 80-pound sandbag. So I could have done it, but I mean, I maybe would have done it a couple times. So I just did the open, which was 60 pounds, a little bit more in my wheelhouse of capability.
Yeah. Well, you should be used. Yeah, should be able to do that. So
Yeah,
that's cool. So that's a two. And then how many weeks of this do they got?
it's four.
So it's 8 workouts.
The 1 week is like an OCR type thing, and I think it's only the one workout in that one. It's like you run, and then there's a descending reps of different movements, and then run.
And this all has to be done on the track, I assume.
No, because there's wall balls in it, so I don't think so. I haven't read the rules on it.
See, so then you're getting into trouble with the because of Strava. I don't trust the Strava. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I have okay, so I got Strava on my watch, and then obviously on my phone. I can run
Mhm.
the same track at the same time, and they
Yeah.
will say completely different things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even when the three of us ran the 12 laps at the track, we all had different numbers.
Yeah,
And we're all running in the first lane. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So yeah, and it can make a big difference. I mean, if you're getting 10 meters a lap on a mile, that's 40
Yeah.
meters. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
So I anyway, we'll see how it is. I'm going to dig more into their rules. But so I've decided I am on the New Year's and New Year's this year. I'm going to do a virtual competition. We're going to do a virtual competition,
Mhm.
um, and but I only want 10 to 20 men and women, really small, really simple, proof of concept kind of thing. So if you're interested, let us know. I know we already got a couple of people who are going to take part and at very different levels. So it'll be good. I promise you, it will be logistically well laid out. The rules will be good. I promise you that. And it'll be 3 competitions, one a week for 3 weeks, right after the new year. So
Mhm.
it'll be easy to fit in your schedule and will not be the kind of thing that disrupts your life too much. It'll fit in very nicely.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely. And I think again we'll probably have to charge for it because if you don't, nobody does it,
Right.
as we've just seen. But
Mhm.
I have decided I will take that money that we charge for it, and it will all go back as prize money. So everything people put in will go back to the people in the competition. Probably half of it to the prize money, and half of it as a random draw to everybody who enters. So that way,
Mhm.
everybody's got a shot of money. Which again, Battle Bunker did as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great idea, and I do like that idea, and I'm quite willing to steal good ideas from other people.
Yeah. Mm.
So that said, we do have an interview with Gary Belanger or Bellinger, depending how French you are, from Spartan. And man, he's got a lot of great stuff to drop about the 3K. Fills in a lot of information. It's actually a really good interview. So, buddy, Gary B. Well, so let's get down to brass tacks, Gary. So you're one of the few people who were able to come and work for Spartan. You got in there. How did that start? How did the whole process start with you to get involved with it?
Oh geez, yeah. So back in 2012, I ran my first race. I volunteered with them. as I was looking for obstacle course races I could volunteer with. Did the old Boston Sprint, which was back in Amesbury, a venue that we don't go to anymore, and fell in love with it. Heard about the trifecta, did the trifecta that year. And then January 2013, I quit my job at a mortgage lending company and just kind of kept bugging Spartan until they hired me. So officially started in August of 2013, but I had been part of the street team and had done some stuff with them, built up a little bit of a following on Twitter, going back when Twitter was still kind of important. So that kind of got the attention of Joe. And yeah, eventually by August, I figured it was easier to hire me than keep dealing with all the emails I was sending in because I'm a very anal person. So I was asking questions about everything and anything.
Yeah, because like you would be one of those guys that not those of us who pay really close attention. We know who you are. We know we see you in the stuff, but people who don't know, who whatever, you're just that face in the background. Spartan games. Oh, there's that guy in the background with the beard. There's that guy. Like so, you worked your way up the ladder quite a lot. I mean, so what exactly? And the reason I want to get through this is so that we can, when we talk about it, people can understand that you know what the hell you're talking about. What exactly is your role now? Because I mean, I assume with Spartan, you got you wear many hats. That's the deal.
Yeah. So I started off as just plain old customer service. I was answering emails. One of the first remote employees to kind of do that. And like I said, I came from a corporate background where I oversaw a very large mortgage company. So I was like, look, I can work remote. I'm responsible. It's better that way. Worked my way up through customer service and then into kind of the product team, which is where I am now. Official title is Global Director of Consumer Insights and Analytics. Very fancy title. But basically, learning what the racers want and how we can deliver it to them and, kind of what our messaging is. So all those post-race surveys, I read every comment I have for the last, probably 7 years now. So they do get read. I can swear I read every single one, good or bad. And so I've gotten a pretty good handle on what racers want from that. And then I've run a lot of races. You can see some of the shirts behind me, but I ran from 13 to 16, just over, I think, 100 Spartan races. So talked to a lot of people there. And I kind of always joke, I work at Spartan because I am a Spartan. It's not the other way around. I didn't get the job here and then say, oh, I'm going to go run some of these races. It was the other way around. I ran Spartan, loved it, and kind of wanted to get into the job from there. So yeah, I've answered, I don't know, probably 100,000 plus emails. And then, like I said, I've read probably 50 plus thousand survey comments. So definitely feel like I have a decent handle on what racers are looking for, especially being one myself.
It just clicks to my head, man. What's like the worst comment you got?
It was
that'd be
really
fun.
it was really tough during COVID. I had went back into the customer service side of things. I took a lot of the no refund emails because I have very thick skin. I got called some pretty derogatory terms and stuff like that. But I laughed it off. I know it's not me personal. And it's like, man, if you're gonna drop the names I was called, you have a lot more going on in your life that it's not so bad for me. So I took a lot of those comments, but we see some silly stuff. It's people want photographers at every single obstacle. Not realizing like, all right, that's 30 plus obstacles. And I mean, there's a reason we don't do photographers at like rope climb. Like you're pointing a camera up into the sun. It's a horrible angle. And, maybe half the racer can actually climb the rope. So we get hit that a lot. That's like, why is always barbed wire? Why? But you can get every single person in barbed wire, and you can get a really badass photo of every single person in barbed wire. You can't do that on rope climb. You can't do that on some of the other obstacles. So there is a reason behind it. It's we're not just making this stuff up.
So, dude, on the rope climb thing, I did a couple of little commercially things for non-alcoholic beer, and I tried to do one on the rope climb. So I climbed up the rope with the non-alcoholic beer,
Yep.
and just like you said, to get a camera angle, I had to get my buddy to climb up the other rope beside it and take the video from there, and it still didn't work right. But yeah, so rope climb be a rough camera angle. I could see some of the people, they want it on the rig with the big swinging and stuff like that. That's cool, but like you say, it's hard to get everybody, I guess.
It's hard to get everybody. A lot of people can't do the rig still, so you're missing all of them. And with the swinging and where the angle is, you may not be getting everyone. I mean, we've put people on monkey bars and stuff like that, but yeah, there's a lot of obstacles. It's just not conducive to getting photos. So Yeah, we see that comment a lot. Sometimes it's like people want water stations, and it's like we have 6 on a sprint. It's like how many more can you put in? Um, but we've learned from it, and we do take the feedback. I mean, we have made a lot of changes based on kind of the feedback that we've seen from these surveys, and it's great because the surveys, we're getting thousands, a week sometimes. Some of the larger races will get 1,000 comments, so you see it on Facebook, it's very amplified kind of comments, but they're a very small core group of people. So it's kind of like Spartan's not listening to us. It's like we're just not listening always to that one small group. We're listening to the larger group.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this a bit in the past with our podcast and stuff, where we talked about, we hit the one percenters. We talk about the sport, the athletic, the competition side, and we always point out that it is 1%. It is maybe 5%. In the long term of the sport, or that in the from a company perspective of Spartan or another company that holds events, it's not the meat and potatoes. It's not what pays the bills. And that's what you got to cater to. As much as we want to see the top end, the pointy end of the spear, that's the part that pays the bills. And I mean, I guess that kind of comes to COVID, right? And you guys had a lot of people think you guys are a great big business, and it is a big business. But COVID kicked the shit out of everybody.
It did, yeah. I mean, it's funny, and this is sometimes we see these comments like people think that we're making money hand over fist, and we weren't. Even in the beginning, it's these venues are expensive. We roll with probably 5 trailers to events, so you're paying 5 drivers. You're paying gas for all that. You're paying storage for the ones that aren't at races. The amount of money just to put on an event, which doesn't include the back end, like paying people like me, people like the email team,
Mm.
Facebook ads, all that. It's an expensive business. So we're not making all kinds of cash. We definitely didn't have $1 billion in the bank waiting for us. So when COVID hit, and as Joe said it plenty of times, like we shut down, we stopped everything. It's rough. We weren't sitting on a large pile of cash at that point. So as you say, COVID kicked everyone's ass, and we were not immune from that at all.
And I think too, and that goes on to here to the recovery from COVID. I mean, there's been so many changes and mostly in the elite side, because in the regular side, it's kind of been business as usual. I'm sure you guys had a lot of catching up. I mean, 2021 was probably the year of no registrations because everybody's cashing in their codes that they got for a canceled race. Then you get this code plus a Tough Mudder code to go with it, then another code to go with that. So everybody's cashing in everything. So I mean, the income for 2021 couldn't have been much better than 2020. And
Yep,
then
that hurt, and it hurt on the volunteer side too.
yeah,
Obviously we count on volunteers for races, but as you said, everyone and their mom had a free race, and so we saw that the volunteer numbers were down. So you got to look at other ways to staff that stuff, and yeah, less revenue and more expenses because things got more expensive. I mean, we feel it. The gas went up, prices of lumber. I mean, I remember I was putting a new roof on my house, and it's like a sheet of plywood went from $12 to $60. We're not immune from that. Wood got really expensive. Building new stuff like that. So yeah, it was a double whammy for sure.
yeah, man, I had to just buy recently a little car to pay for gas going back and forth to work to save on the van. But yeah, so everything was that was another rough year. So everybody thinks, well, 2020 was one rough year, but in reality, it was 2 rough years because you have that record to recuperate from there. And so you guys make a lot of changes on the elite end of the spectrum. Um, Going into that, and I mean, this has been my take from outside, is you guys had to try something. You had to go down a well. You had to try something because what was happening wasn't bringing in revenue. Yeah, it was great races, but it wasn't bringing revenue, and you guys had to try something. So how much of the process are you involved in, or are you aware of where you went to decide that the 3K series is the way to go?
Yeah, somewhat involved. Steve Hammond took over for Nate, who was with us. They kind of were focused on the elite side. As you said, it's not the meat and potatoes of everything, and so my focus is more on the bigger picture. But seeing how it affects stuff. Yeah, I mean, elites have never made us money. Between just the prize money we give away. A lot of them were never paying for races. It was always to legitimize us as a sport. And I think that's what has separated Spartan apart from a lot of companies, especially in the early years. We were timed and ranked. That was kind of always our beating of the drum. We're timed, we're ranked. Love them or hate them, we had burpees. There was penalties for missing obstacles. And so, having the elite racers and having these prizes out there helped that part of the sport, but it definitely never made us money. We never saw the return in black and white. I think there's non-financial, again, it helps more people want to come into the sport because they see these great athletes out there, but we can never put a dollar amount on that necessarily. And yeah, when you look at it, it's a loss leader. The 3K is something absolutely we've played with. A short course has always been on our minds. We tried Spartan Cross before COVID hit. Obviously, we saw it in the Spartan Games. It's a way to try to make the sport more exciting from a film side. I mean, I think we all love running it, but sometimes watching it's boring, to be quite honest, especially a 2.5 hour beast, where a lot of it's up a mountain. And it's like, all right, we're watching even the top athletes, just climb up a mountain, breathe heavy. So this was a way to, make it a little bit smaller. Obviously, we can still get this potentially into like a stadium and stuff like that, and play with the course and more around the DECA range of things. And DECAs are so easy to film because it's all right there. You don't need the Steve Hammonds of the world that can chase a world-class athlete up a mountain. You can get a couple regular guys that can film it with better equipment and stuff like that. So we had to pivot on it. We had to pivot in a way that it becomes a spectator sport instead of a runner sport, because that's where obviously the eyes are, and then the money comes. And we think it's helpful for the athletes too. One of their big complaints always is, there's not enough eyes on the product. So this potentially gets that. I know the whole pro team going away is an unfortunate thing, but the reality is no other company has their own pro team, and we've been hit with that before. Like, it shouldn't be a Spartan pro team, it should be
I've been saying it for years.
Exactly. And so if we can get enough eyes on this, then it makes sense for someone like Fit Aid or Honey Stinger or any of these big companies to come in and maybe sponsor athletes or a team, because they know they're going to get the views on it. And we think it can become an exciting sport that non-OCR people would watch it. Obviously, American Ninja Warrior is a huge TV program. Most of the people watching the show are not running and doing competition. So I would love to get to that point, and we believe we can. And once it becomes a spectator sport, then the money comes in. Once you can get on TV, get spectators, get eyes on it, just the money comes in. So it helps us push up the elite side of things, and then obviously people can go and run it. So it's, I'm sure ninja gyms and all that have seen great bump up in registrations and stuff because of American Ninja Warrior. So we want to be on the same side there.
All right, here's my pitch to improve it a little. So even though you haven't done it yet. So I think what you guys need to do is you got the 1K qualifiers, right, into the 3K. I'm not even going to talk about that. That's one thing. That's a different thing. That doesn't matter. What I think you need to do, though, is have the 1K qualifiers and then allow age groupers, open waivers, whatever, to go through the course, whatever, 20, $30, 1K run, not a 3K, 1K run, filter them through, just a medal, no t-shirt, quick money, bring that in while the people qualifying for the 3K later get to rest, and then they rest up, and then they run their big 3K after multiple loops. Brings in a little more money, and you get in there. And then plus those who can't qualify still get a chance to do that same course that the big boys and girls get to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love, obviously right now, again, it's a financial decision. We're adding this on to, our normal Spartan events. I would love to get to the point this either becomes a standalone, or as you said, I can dedicate a whole Friday. That's what I love about this format. We can send off 10 people every 2-3 minutes for 8 hours. And look, your top 30 go on. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have to be 45. We just picked 45 right now to get a nice quick time frame. This event, the whole thing start to end should take about 2 hours, but realistically, if this does kick off like we think it's going to, we have the course ready, Thursday night, and come Friday morning, we start qualifiers. And look, you have all day. And if you want to come back as you failed the monkey bars, you think you can come back again a second time, absolutely rest for 2-3 hours and give it another shot. And as you said, you could run qualifiers all day long and then just have a Saturday final or something like that. So
I think some of those qualifying heats are actually going to be more exciting than the 3K. Because again, one mistake makes so much difference in a 1K, like just boom, fun. But that's personal. I like the short, fast crap.
Yeah.
There's some vagueness though, and I don't know, maybe vagueness is the wrong word, some misunderstanding or some lack of knowledge about straight rules. So for the 3K, failed obstacle,
Yep.
what happens?
Penalty loop. We'll have
Penalty loop?
all penalty loops. Yep, yep. Just like the standard event, it's all going to be penalty loops. We've been really working to dial them in to make sure that they are set distance. I know we got knocked for it in Jacksonville. We ran a test event. Our winner skipped the rig all 3 times and did the penalty loop, and everyone's like, "Well, because it was faster." The reality, it wasn't. The penalty loop, Steve had actually timed them all. It took her about 43 seconds, I think he said, where the people finishing the rig was under 19 seconds. But
Mhm.
she was running on Saturday. She knew that she was fast enough to make up that difference, and she wanted to save her grip for Saturday. So it was over a minute penalty that she took by skipping the rig. So if there were more top tier elite racers running, obviously this was a test. There's a lot of our age groupers and people trying out. She wouldn't have taken that strategy. But knowing it was a test event, that there was nothing really on the line, and that she was running the next day, she made that decision. But we feel that that is a pretty decent penalty. As you said, 20 seconds over a 1K is probably going to make or break it between equally, skilled people. So, again, this goes back to, like you said, you hear on Facebook and social that's so horrible, but we've done the math. Like I said, Steve timed this in a real world example. And yeah, it was over a minute penalty on a 3K course that she took by not doing that rig. If there was someone right behind her, she would have done the rig, but she had enough of a lead that she could, avoid it and save the grip for the next day.
And so two things on that. One, the rig has changed this year, right? Gone are the fat ropes on the end, and
Yep, it's a
now
little
they're
bit more standardized. Yep,
yeah.
exactly. Yep.
Um, and then the other thing, was there consideration to making it mandatory completion? Just and
Uh,
my thought was because a couple of things. One, yes, you deal with not having penalty loops as far as is it enough? Is it this? Is it that? Not only that, you deal with not having to make the construction of said penalty loops, which takes time and effort and money.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's probably a talk every single year or probably every couple months, to be quite honest. It does get discussed here, and I'm a big proponent of not doing it. I've run races that used to have that in the past, and it's like I remember doing a multi-lap event and just running past a rig, and there's still elites like 2 hours later still doing the rig. And it's like, oh my God, that's so boring. Not that I think any elite would probably have that level of problem with a Spartan rig.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense. I think the penalty is the right answer here. I know I'm probably gonna get lit up for these comments, but I don't see mandatory obstacle completion as a necessity. I like the Spartan rules of it. We are different than other companies, but we're also the biggest company for a reason, I think. So it's hard to say we should copy some of these other companies that have gone bankrupt or are smaller than us.
Right.
Not to say we can't learn from people, but I think we've done some things right with that. The other thing too, like you said, the build of it. Unfortunately, we have to build them for the next day anyways,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter. And we've gone through the list. Some of them are really silly. Like I get hit up a lot of times, like, does this obstacle really need to be, a penalty loop? And it's like, yeah, unfortunately, it could be a muddy hurdle, and maybe somebody in our 60 plus category or a 14-year-old can't get over the hurdle. Most of our athletes can, but even if one or two people can't, what are we going to do? Kick them off the course? So it's like you have to have a penalty loop. So it was really hard going through the obstacles, going, geez, realistically, can somebody fail this with the right conditions? And that's where we kind of drew the line between mandatory and penalty loops, was that, yeah, we don't want anyone to be DQ'd because of something weird. And we've all seen that there's been times with some of these hurdles that they're just covered in mud and you're gassed and it's the end of a beast. And you have to take the penalty on them.
Now you do have some obstacles that are labeled in the rulebook multiple attempt obstacles.
Yep.
Those same obstacles apply to the same rules in the 3K?
Correct. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So
So
stuff like the rope climb, anything like that. Yeah, you can take it as many turns as you need. Really, there's no difference in the rules for the 3K to the standard races other than the format. But yep, same exact rule book, same everything.
so how do you envision the rest of the sport going? Like is that part of the vision you think where this year it's the 45 or whatever it is, and then it moves on to, like you say, the full day of
I would love
qualifications.
that. Yeah, I mean, we have to see how this works. And there's always a financial aspect to it. I would love to do this for age groupers and get age groupers through. But obviously it's a much, with 10 categories. Yeah, 10 categories, 20 if you count men and female, times that by 45. Now you're looking at having to get 900 people minimum through a qualifier course. It's a much different build. And it's a much different financial, obligation. So this is kind of a proof of concept for us. We know it works because we've seen it in Spartan Cross. We know it can be filmed. We know it can be exciting. And, hopefully in 2024, we get some bigger partners on that see how great this is and, see where the branding opportunities are and then we can expand it. But the reality is that the sprint, the super, the beast, they're not going away. I kind of see that concern or complaint, but it's not. This is just a way for us to become a spectator sport, one little sliver of it. The elites have always been kind of separate from our age group, or I mean, from our open heaters. So we don't expect that to change here, and definitely 100% not going away from having our sprint super beast ultra. Those will always be there. This is just an addition to it, and a slightly different format for our elites.
Dude, I said that when you guys came out, when everybody was like freaking out, and even I'm seeing open waivers freak out, and I'm like, this makes no difference to you whatsoever. You'll get 7,000 people at a race weekend, and this affects 80,
Yeah.
if that.
Right, exactly.
And some of them actually like the idea. So I'm like, let's say 50 people are affected seriously. Um, Something that obviously is going to affect and has affected some of it is the prize money was dropped for most of the races. And that could, between that and the changer thing, could affect who shows up. And that's great. But I found if you looked a little bit deeper, the prize money for the world championship is quite impressive.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't changed that at all. Unfortunately, that was a hard decision that was given to me, to be honest. I was told to cut the prize money. I submitted one model, which I was really excited about because I think it would have been great. And I was told, nope, let's go ahead and cut that by quite a bit. But it makes sense. As Joe has said publicly, we've had to cut budget across a bunch of different lines here. So not a huge surprise. I made sure that the world championship isn't changing. I don't think it's pretty close to the same, maybe a few $1,000, but yeah, we're still paying out 20 grand in first place. And the reality for the series is if someone comes in and wins all three races, they'll end up with $9,500, which is not a bad payday for 3 5Ks. Obviously, you got to pay a little bit for travel and you got to pay a little bit for hotels and all that, but you can still walk away with close to $10,000 if you win the 3K events, which I don't think is horrible money. Just I think people have been used to Spartan paying very well for these events, and we're paying well, just not very well.
And you're getting caught up.
Yeah.
So the process right now to get into the 3K is to apply and to receive an invitation. And then we know the process for like the Beast for Abu Dhabi is actually a point system, different races where if you accumulate enough points, you can go and cooperate or participate. How does the qualification for the Worlds work? Is it just going to be from standings of the series?
Yeah, so twofold on that. It's the same point system. So basically, if you qualify for the Beast, you'll also be qualified for the 3K. But as we know, there's only those 45 spots. So we will be going through an application process, very similar. Priority given to obviously people that compete in the series and do well there. To be quite honest with you, we sent out an initial round of invites to people that didn't apply based on the old pro team standards. We had those standards put forth. I know some people worked really hard to qualify for the pro team in 2023, and fortunately, we did have to cut that. So we threw them a little bit of a bone and said, hey, you guys have guaranteed access to the 3K as long as you sign up in the next 14 days. So that way we know how many spots we have left. And then we're going through the applications and sending out invites, through that way to people that are qualified in there. So, but yeah, to get to the qualification of the world, it's the same point system. You got to get 5 points based on 1 point for regular events, 3 points for series, and 4 for our regional championships. But then if you're getting into the 3K final or the 3K World Championship, that would be an invite process of those people that qualify. So 2 tier, you have to, earn the points, and then you actually have to get an invitation from us. So as I said, anyone that wins one of these 3K series events or podiums or probably even top 10, honestly, will get an event there or invite there. And then we'll go through and see who else is qualified, who, can do well in the event.
All right, so this is obviously like a Canadian podcast, and we're central in Canada. So I got to ask you the bitchy question here, Gary. What the hell happened to my 3K Montreal? Or sorry,
Yeah,
Mount Trumbull. What happened, man?
Montreal Blanc. It's a tough venue to build it on. I'm sure you've been there.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of flat. So it was one of the ones that was kind of on the bubble as it was. We kind of thought we could get close to that 1K loop, but we weren't sure we could build a really great course there. And it was just it ended up being a financial thing, whereas like if we did it, we were probably going to have to build extra obstacles in order to get enough obstacles in the very little flat area that, that's the downside. I love Mont Tremblant. I've been there for a race back in, oh gosh, I'm probably 13, and it's
Yeah,
a
it's been a
gorgeous
while.
area and everything else. And that's why I pushed for it. Plus being close to the border, we could get our team up there. But yeah, the reality was we were going to have to build additional obstacles outside of the obstacles already being built, which we just don't have trust for anyways. So it was either wood builds or, tasking the team to somehow early morning or late night move those to a different part of a mountain that's not really traversable as it is. It's not as easy as grabbing a pickup truck and throwing, some obstacles in the back of it. So we played with it, and there was just no way, unfortunately, to get a really good course there.
So 2024, Red Deer, perfect place for 1K play. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, we had Bear on a little while ago. He said that Red Deer, we could build a killer course there.
Beautiful.
One of the things that has been a concern that some people have is the rotation of obstacles. Are you going to see some different obstacles in there? Because I mean, like, and myself included, I'd like to see more technical obstacles in there, more of the twister, more of the the beater, some monkey bars, stairway to Sparta, any of that, all that stuff. Is that going to be rotated around a lot?
Yeah. So again, this is kind of built with the standard course in mind. But we do know that these courses are being built there. So yeah, we are looking into, what can we rotate through there? I mean, one thing me and Steve go back and forth on is, do we have championship mode on maybe the rig? Like, because in theory, we could easily put some attachments up and change them out the next day for the normal race. So still a possibility. It's stuff that me and Steve kind of look back and forth on. Steve is obviously a much better athlete than me. So to me, I'm like, no, the normal rig's fine. Let's get people through fast. And Steve is, he wants the harder stuff because that's more his technicality there. And he talks to elites a lot more, obviously. So I look at it a lot more from the average person, and he's looking at it more from the elite perspective. So potentially long way around to say, yeah, we're going to see how this first course goes in Palm Beach. And if it's, great and we don't need to make any changes, awesome. But, most likely we'll have to pivot. This will be the first time that we've actually kind of put the Spartan cross short course 3K on as a, I guess, commercial version. We've run a couple different tests. We've run it in Spartan games, but we've never actually had a short course kind of like this. And I mean, gosh, we even tested it back in Vermont in, I think, 14 or 15. So we've had a lot of different versions of the short course we've played with, but this will be the first one where we kind of purpose set out for it and said, here's what we're doing. So it'll be interesting to see how this first one goes. And yeah, I mean, I think if nothing else as a company, we do pivot pretty well, when need be.
All in favor of you putting the rig in championship mode. That's great. That's fine. Personally, plays to my favor. But if you guys let people grab the straps, I'm going to lose my shit.
It goes back to a ruling. And I've looked at ways to play with it. Unfortunately, it's really hard to officiate not allowing it, and that's why it happened. We don't want that, but it's so hard to. And we've looked at dog collars, like the stop your dog from scratching, stuff like that. Changing the chain length, but then it's a different swinging mechanism. Yeah, we've played with it. It can be fixed for sure, but to be quite honest, it's an officiating thing. It's almost impossible for us to officiate. And so it's like, do we go with controversy, or we just say, hey, it's allowed? And, once we can figure out a good solve to fix it, then we figure out a solve to fix it. But yeah.
Barbed wire around the straps. Nobody will grab them, and it'll look
You know
very
what? Somebody
Spartan.
would. Yeah, people will.
Good on them. Have at
Yep.
it.
Look, I mean, the old dunk wall, when it used to be wood, we put barbed wire over the top and we saw people trying to crawl over that. So,
Dude, I saw people try to climb up across the top in the middle of Helix, like in between the two X's up top. I'm like, I wouldn't even have thought of that.
well, that's the hardest thing about rules. Like, yeah, I mean, I wrote the first rule book because I think we're coming to the 13 championship and realized we don't have a rule book really. And so I kind of wrote it because it's like, oh, Gary's run the most races and he's going through and trying to figure out everything. And I think the woodsy ruling is always a great example. Like we said, you can't touch the truss. Like I wrote that.
Yeah.
I'll take ownership on that because yeah, you can't touch the middle truss. Everyone
It is an advantage. It is an advantage to do so.
But then someone pointed out, but there's technically a trust on the bottom and the top that you have to touch. It's like, but that's not what I meant. And it's like, yeah. So you know, and I give Woodsy shit for this still to this day. I'm like, Woodsy, I had to rewrite the whole rule book because of you. But that was the first time that was like, oh geez, like it didn't make sense. Like I think we all kind of knew what was meant. Like you couldn't touch the middle one and climb up it like a ladder. But the way it was written, officially everyone failed A-frame for years because there's trust everywhere. So as you said, yeah, people do some weird things on obstacles, and it's like we go through it, and it's like as much as we had a lot of people have been a lot of races, try to figure out every little way that people can kind of sneak something through it. You always figure out something. It's like, all right, we got to rewrite the rule book and change that up.
Awesome. It's a never-ending struggle. Anyway, man, I took up a lot of your time. I know you're really busy. You got a lot going on. Any last words you want to say to people out there?
No, definitely appreciate the time. If you want to apply, go to our website. It's in our FAQs and that's where so much stuff is. Excited to see. I know we have some big names. I know VJ's coming. I believe Nicole signed up for Palm Beach. Chris is obviously coming to a couple different events. I don't believe she'll be in Palm Beach because she has another commitment. So we do have some, big names there. And there's a lot more that I'm not remembering, so I apologize. And Dave, are you coming? Can we officially announce you'll be signing up?
Palm Beach, Palm Beach. I don't know Palm because I got a big overtime stint, but my plan is definitely Pocono, Mexico, and then we'll see. Big Bear. That might be tough because it is at the end of my overtime too. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm into it if I can get there. Yeah.
Beautiful. So
Awesome.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. And yeah, like I said, this was definitely a lot of thought put into this. And I know sometimes it may not seem like it, but we really, really do think of a lot of things. And it's crazy on the back end. There's so many comments I see, and it's like we've done so much research on stuff, and there's a reason it's done. Not that we're perfect, not that we can't make some changes, but we typically don't do something without a reason behind it. So that's
Awesome.
it. Appreciate having me on.
Thanks so much, Gary.
I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.